So I woke up from a really weird dream. I was being chased by a T-Rex. Somebody and I, we were being chased through a house by a T-Rex, but we were wanting to be chased because I don't know. I can't quite figure out why we were wanting to be chased, but we were. And so it was really shocking. And I woke up to my alarm going off, and it was just jarring. Like, this whole morning was just weird. And then I realized that telepathically, Sebastian has been so scared of me. He started saying that he's just scared. He's scared of what I'll do to him as I manifest him. Like, he's scared of mind control, and he's scared of being thrown around like a rag doll. And like, if I affirm for things using manifestation, and I say things like, he loves me so much, we're so happy together, and he calls me all the time, a reality like this exists because I see it, and I speak it out loud, which means it exists somewhere. I wouldn't even have the thought or the belief if it didn't exist somewhere. And so all that's happening is his consciousness is shifting to that reality. So it's almost like the universe is kind of moving pieces around for him to constantly be in that reality with me, and so he goes through like ego death and huge cataclysmic changes. Things have to be pretty much decimated. Like, his old life has to go because his new life has to start. And same with me. It's like, I went through divorce, I lost my family, I got evicted, I moved out west, I became homeless. Like, there's so many big things that had to happen in my life to get me to be ready for my new life. Like, I can't be much of a coach if I don't know how to get myself out of a bind, can I? I can't be much of a mindset mentor if I can't actually change my own mindset for the positive. I can't actually help people in love if I don't live in love. So I had all these big, grand ideas for myself, and I wanted this reality, but I didn't want the pain and suffering that had to happen to get me here. And so that's what he's freaked out about. He's like, I don't want the shift. I don't want heavy things to have to happen to get me to you. But that's what has to happen. The ego has got to be disintegrated. In order to be aligned with your higher self, you're not going to get to live as your ego. You're surrendering self. That's the ultimate gift. That's the Christ consciousness. That's what Jesus did. He surrendered. He died to self every day. And like the Bible says, when Apostle Paul said, I die daily. I die daily. So I have to die to my old self. I have to die to the things that I wanted. Because the things that I wanted, the I here is ego. It's the things the ego wanted. What I want, my higher self, what my soul wants, is freedom, fun, joy, liberation, happiness, intimacy, a pain-free life. And if that's what I want, then I have to remove the ego that is the cause of pain. The ego is pain. The ego is the cause. It's the thing keeping you from knowing that you are healed and that you are pain-free and high vibrational, and you're like a walking Tylenol. So it's time that me, as a divine feminine, when I hear him telepathically say things like, I'm just so scared of you, I'm scared of you, the first thing that I had initially done was like run from it. And I was like, don't be scared of me. And I was like, no, I'm not going to hurt you, and I'm offended, and I can't believe you'd think that. But then I had to realize, like, no, he has every right to feel this way. I could hurt him. I absolutely could. 100%. Like, when you risk it all in love, there's a possibility you will get hurt. So there is a possibility that I could hurt this man. But I don't want to hurt this man. And that's what I reassured him. I said, I know you're scared. And you have every right to be. I'm scared too sometimes. Not right now in this moment, but I'm scared too. You know, love is a scary thing. It's scary to jump into and risk everything for it, you know? And I was just trying to comfort him and console him, which is really me. I'm him. He's me. We're the same soul. Your twin flame is your same soul. So I'm just comforting myself because I was the one feeling the pain, right? I was feeling nervous and antsy, and I knew it was coming from him, but we're the same soul. So it's coming from me. So I had to sit there and hear it. I had to hear he's scared of me. This isn't the first time he said he's scared of me. One of the last phone calls we had after we broke up, he called me like a week later and he said that when I told him I loved him, I texted him I loved him, and he was like, I loved you. And I just don't think we can do this anymore, because he's like, I'm just scared of you. He was implying like I can't be controlled. I say really off the cuff things. I have my, you know, mental things that everybody thinks is mental, but really it's just, well, quite honestly, I think I'm a genius. But the point is, he has every right to be scared of me and my mind and the power of my mind. And there's limitations that are being broken in our relationship. There's limitations all across the planet that are being broken by so many people. And he is scared, and I don't blame him. But sometimes it's better to live life bravely. Even when you have fear, do it anyway. And I just reassured him, like, you have every right to feel that way, babe. It's scary. I could hurt you. I could. Unconsciously, if I didn't know that I was if I'm unhealed and I do something unconsciously, then yeah, you have every right to feel that way. Like, that's gonna hurt. And that's not necessarily my doing, because it's not conscious. But if it's unconscious and I see that I do it and I can't stand that I hurt you, I will fix it. I'll heal it. And I'll recognize, like, wow, it is my fault. It's my fault because I refused to heal that thing. So he has every right to be that scared. But that, I think, is such a profound moment of integration between he and I. I sat there and I just heard him say it. Because on the phone, he told me he was scared of me. And I remember I was so offended and I was taken aback, and I was like, well, I know, but I'm scared of you too. And like, it's just so intense. And it's like, stop with the defensiveness. Stop. Cool it. Calm down. Like, that right there is proof positive that he has every right to be scared of me. The defensiveness. When somebody tells you something, you should just listen. You don't have to accept it as true, but that's what they think is true. So just listen, right? Once you hear an outlandish claim and it sounds bogus, dismiss it in your head. Be like, that's not me. Like, I appreciate that you said it, but that's just not true. And it's really taking your power back and not letting accusations or projections or beliefs about you dictate who you are. It's true mastery of the mind. when you can listen to something that is opposing you and not take it on as true? It's not true. It's not your reality, it's theirs. It's their version of you. It's their projection of who they say you are. Who do you say you are, right? As much as I know I may end up hurting him at some point, I mean, if I have an unconscious, unhealed wound, then I'll end up hurting him in some way. But I'll feel so shitified about it that I'll discover what it was that caused it, and I'll never do it again. I'm on the fast track to learning lessons. Like karmic lessons, I want to learn it immediately so I don't hurt him or anyone. And a lot of people can't say that. A lot of people don't want to learn their lessons right away. They want to consistently hurt people, and they don't care that they're hurting people. But I care. I care because I love people, and because I love myself. And we are all one. And if I hurt them, I'm hurting me. And if I hurt me, I'm hurting them. How does that make sense? When I want a man to love me, and I want to be with him forever, why would I shoot myself in the foot by hurting him? That's only going to hurt me. So he had every right to say, I'm scared of you. He said it in the physical 3D world, and then he said it today telepathically. Oh, shit. So he has every right to feel that way. And I reassured him that he has every right to feel scared. But that my intention is not to hurt him. And any divine feminine, that's not your intention. You're never wanting to hurt somebody. You're simply wanting to be in love. And you both are going to have such a transformative relationship that it's going to bring up a lot of triggers and a lot of fears, a lot of worries, and it will possibly make you run, you know? And if you've been the chaser for so long, and then you meet your real twin flame and you start running, it's going to hurt them. That's going to hurt. That's going to be an abandonment wound that's triggered in them, and that will hurt them. But that's not necessarily your doing. It's just an unconscious coping mechanism. So he has every right to be scared, but I have to ask myself, do I really want a man afraid of me? Like, that's how it was with my mom and my grandma and all the women in my family. They would make men scared of them so that they could overpower them. They wanted men weak. They didn't want men in their masculine role because they were scared of giving up control and being in their higher self and not their ego. Now, you're so powerful when you've surrendered control from your ego. Like, when you've surrendered your ego, you're so powerful. So any masculine could not overpower you, or there is nothing like that. That's not what love is. It's not a fucking power dynamic. It's two powerful people together, happily, helping instruct each other on how to become more powerful. There's nothing wrong with submission as a divine feminine, and that's what I discussed yesterday. If you guys want to go listen, there's nothing wrong with submission, and there's nothing wrong with knowing your worth, and that if any man tries to overpower you when you're in a submissive state, then that man is an abuser, and you should not be with said man. But that is not the twin flame journey. Your twin flame would never abuse you, ever. They would never hurt you, ever. Not intentionally, not on purpose. They would immediately correct themselves. They would immediately fix it. Figure out what it is and fix it, because they just love you that much. Just because the world hasn't seen a love like that doesn't mean that you haven't, right? So you're here to teach, and you're here to lead, and you're here to inspire people to find unconditional love. The twins that I channel for, you're here to do huge things. You're going to affect so many people in a positive way because you're showing them a new dynamic. You don't have to be power hungry as a woman. You don't have to want to overpower a man to feel safe. You don't have to want to be stronger and bigger and louder than a man just so that you feel like he can't hurt you. The way that you stay really truly safe is to dissolve your ego, the thing that's hurting you. Those limitations, those fears, they're only even ever recognized by your ego. When you're your higher self, you don't have fear. You have zero fear. You live in love, not fear. Being nastier or louder or meaner or, more powerful and dominating, like, that's not going to help your man feel like he should be intimate with you and share secrets and confess and cry in front of you and hold you. And they're not going to want that softness. There is no softness. How could they find it if you're crass and rude and crude, right? Sorry guys, I'm trying to... Shit, I thought I turned this thing off. Yeah, so it's gonna be kind of, I don't know, different, I think, for me going forward, he and I, because the dynamic is, I'm gonna give you, Sebastian, power to be a man, and you could hurt me with that power, but I'm going to know my power as a conscious creator, in that I know in my head my Christ consciousness is more powerful than the ego. And so if he ever tried to lead me from the ego, I would be able to, in my mind, change the story. If he got aggressive one day and yelled at me or something, which has never happened, Sebastian, that man doesn't even have a function for yelling. If something happened like that, I'd be in my head being like, I love how soft and gentle he is. I love how he apologizes right now. And it would just change. It would change because my Christ consciousness changes it. Not him and the external. He wouldn't change it. I would change the way that I see him, and then he would have to change to conform to that version that I see of him, which is sweet, kind, loving. Oh, so beautiful. He's so gentle. I love him. That man is so terrified of hurting me. I remember when I first met him, he would just like hold my face in his hands, and he would just be like, I'm scared I'm gonna hurt you. And I could never forgive myself. And he was so in two minds. He was like telling his mom in front of me that he was ready for love. He was ready for me, right in front of his mother. But then, when we were starting to really heal and like get into the thick of it, that's when he's like, I'm scared, I'm hurting you, I'm scared. And that fear is allowed. Like, you're allowed to have that fear. Acknowledge it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing for you to recognize your fear. It really is. Look at it. I mean, really, really look at that fear. and see it for what it is. It is a possibility, is it not? It is 100% possible that while you're falling in love with someone, they could break your heart. It's entirely possible. But do you know who you are? Do you know that you are a healer? Do you know that you can heal and mend your heart? Do you know that you can leave that person anytime if they're abusive? Do you know that you can change in your mind everything about that person? You have to know who you are before you can be in a relationship. You're not in a relationship, and a healthy one, without knowing yourself. Because if you don't realize that you are God, what are you doing? You're going to be ripped apart. They're going to have a field day. And you're not going to have intimacy. There will be zero intimacy. There might be sex. You know, they may call you. They may take you out, spoil you with things, but there will be no intimacy. Like that deep, deep intimacy where they tell you everything you need to know. They heal you without you even saying you need it. It will not be there if you don't know who you are. It's time that we all start looking at these relationships differently. They're a tool. It is meant to be used for our higher good. A soul connection isn't just like so we could have a best friend and some good sex. It's supposed to heal your soul. It's supposed to transcend you. It's supposed to help you realize that you are God. It's supposed to give you your power back, not strip you of it. So until you are healed and in a full surrender space to the divine, you're not going to have a twin flame union. Not in the physical 3D world. Like, you have to have the longevity of it, and you can't have longevity in a partnership, in a healthy dynamic, until you know how powerful you are. And until you realize how much power there is in submission. Submitting to someone or something like God, or whatever. You don't have to, because again, I say that submitting to God is really submitting to self. But isn't that what this is? You're submitting to your divine masculine. You're submitting to yourself. That's it. You're submitting to yourself. How is there any fear in that? There shouldn't be any fear in that. That should be the most liberating moment of your life. So, today is the first day of the rest of my life. I'm surrendering and submitting to Sebastian. And my heart is heavy because he feels so much fear that the more I accept what he's saying about me, I think it relieves the fear. That these fears of his are not unfounded. He has every right to be afraid of me. But since he's a being of love and he chooses love, he will not sit in that fear. He'll acknowledge it, and I will recognize it in me as a possibility. Yeah, I could hurt him. I don't want to. We could all hurt somebody. But the difference between the divine masculines and feminines and distorted feminines and masculines are that only one wants to actually heal, and one wants to keep others safe. So, in order for me to call myself a divine feminine, I have to embody the divine traits. The divine never wants to harm anyone. So, there is fear. The divine masculine fears the power of the feminine, especially the mental power, the headspace, how intelligent she really is. Society tried to dim down the mental prowess of the divine feminine, tried to diminish her value, her worth, and her mental aptitude, but it's not going to be dismissed by the divine masculine. It can't be dismissed. It's the most alluring thing about her. It's not only encouraged. A man would go to great lengths to ensure that a woman can be her true expressive self. Intelligent, logical, forward-thinking. A good man would do that, would want you to be your best self. And if the man you're with is not allowing you to be your best self, you need to really reconsider some things. You do. It's not on them to reconsider things for you. It's on you. Choose love. Choose the one that chooses love with you. Thanks for watching.